It's day two. Ryan Brock, your host again here. And I am here with the lovely, the talented, the charismatic Landon Chefs, Director of Strategic Partnerships. Is that right? At Accessibe,
Yes.
another vendor here at DigiMarCon. We're kind of like sitting next to each other. And I've heard some interesting things from their team about website accessibility. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do at Accessibe?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. At Accessibe, we offer an automated web accessibility solution. So that's going to be something for people with varying different disabilities to have easier access to websites. So oftentimes, people with vision, for example, don't often think about blind users who are using a screen reader that's
Yeah.
downloaded into their operating system, reading out the content of the website to that user. Um, it's a very tedious and time consuming and oftentimes expensive um, aspect of a website for a website owner to take
Yeah, I
care
mean,
of.
it seems like a can of worms. Where like the moment you open it, you know you're going to have to go so deep into it that a lot of people just don't open that can at all, right?
They they either don't know about it, not because they don't want to include people with disabilities, but because they just simply weren't aware that
Yeah,
that's a thing that's out there, that people are using these technologies. Um, but in addition, yeah, you're completely right. Once you make your site accessible, even if you add new content, that might not be accessible content. So you have to go through that cycle over and over again, and people just don't have the resources.
yeah. I'm sure there's people in our audience here, like me. I'm going back to my agency days. I'm thinking about like I had dozens of clients, and every one of them had their own little install of WordPress,
Yep.
right? And they were all built on a weird little Elementor this or whatever that, and a assemblage of 27 plugins that are all free from who
Yeah.
knows where to make that one carousel you got work. That's a lot of moving pieces, and
Yeah,
I could not imagine trying to in like 2024 keep up with that manually.
absolutely. That's why people have been opting into more automated solutions. It's something that could go in, allow the end user on the front end of the site to make some maybe contrast adjustments if they have low vision or if they have dyslexia. There's different fonts available, things of that nature that make it a bit easier for people to view. And it's all based on the end user, the person with the disabilities, personal preference and how they want to experience the
So
website.
you're helping businesses, owners of websites, kind of create these tools so that users can make the experience that they need for themselves or want for themselves.
100%. So yeah, it's really just a simple line of JavaScript code that can be installed. WordPress plugins, Shopify plugins are available.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then on the back end, what it's doing is utilizing AI to actually make changes to, let's say, an image description. So if you have a picture of, you know, a suit that's on sale and you want to actually include something that says 30% off sale going on till May 5th, whatever the case may be, there's no image description. A blind user is not going to hear that content.
Yeah.
So utilizing the AI will pick that up. We'll actually fill in an alt tag that says 30% off sale going to May 5th, black suit. Something along those lines so that everybody has all the context needed.
It's so fascinating because I've probably had like I think like maybe four people on the podcast during this conference, and I've spoken to a lot of people. And like if you think about what you're going to hear at Texpo/DigiMarCon in 2024, obviously AI is going to be the number one thing that people are talking
Right.
about. Which I'm frankly a little bit exhausted by, just like the talking about AI for the sake of talking about AI.
Mhm.
But what I've noticed is since last year, there's been a shift. And a lot of the conversation I'm having, whether it's about website accessibility or SEO or Google ads or like whatever different people I'm talking to are interested in, it's all about like hyper personalization. That's what
Yeah.
marketers are thinking about this year. We know that like the way that the consumers evolved since COVID, we want our experiences to be custom built. And it's fascinating how like on theme you all are with
Right.
that, right? It's not just the content itself, but it's how people engage with it. And I never think about that, even as a marketer myself.
Yeah. People can also make their even social posts more accessible by including alt tags. LinkedIn, for example, provides the option to do so. Or, if not, you could provide something in brackets that says image description, two men, two very handsome men sitting behind a gray table, having a conversation,
At a
whatever the case
podcast
may
studio.
be.
Yeah, that
So
was nice. That
there's,
was really nice.
yeah, of course. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that need to go in mind when it comes to making items accessible. And it's also there's going to be people that visit your website that have a disability, can't access your website, and are probably trying to spend money with you. So you may be missing out on real revenue or real business because a user can't use your site. And a lot of what I hear from our community outreach manager, who is a C4C5 quadriplegic, is that he's part of many social, like Facebook groups for people with disabilities that recommend shops to each other that are accessible.
Yeah, there's a market here, and people, yeah, that's. I mean, again, like you take that same concept and apply it broadly to marketing. Like
Yeah.
every business is getting smarter with their niche, and your niche has niches in it. I think is what I'm taking away from what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And if you're spending marketing dollars to get people onto that website, you want to cast as wide of a net as possible and not let anybody slip through the cracks. And it's 2024. Everybody's focused on social awareness, DEI, and this is one of the greatest ways to really walk the walk opposed to just talking the talk.
Yeah, right.
And then lastly on that point is there is a litigation aspect to it for website owners as well. So it's part of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Section Title 3 of the Americans with Disabilities Act, where people are actually sending out demand letters, hoping that businesses will settle outside of court for $15,000, maybe $25,000 for a smaller website, and then of course upwards from there if it is a much larger website. It is across all industries and locations in the U.S., but e-commerce, I would say, is hyper focused upon. Healthcare as well, real estate, a couple of other industries.
Consumer brands.
Consumer brands,
Yeah.
certainly, but B2B as well. And something that Accessibility provides because we have a lot of faith put behind our automated solution, the Access widget, is everybody receives the conformance to the WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines.
Yeah.
That's what it's all built around. 2.1 AA level specifically for anybody who knows about accessibility.
That sounds fancy to me. I don't know, but it feels like that's the upgrade to me.
Yeah. But we provide our litigation support for anybody who utilizes our solution. So if you ever were to face a demand letter, a lawsuit, you have access to our legal team, our research and development team, and they help you get out of those situations by proving using technical terms and code why your site is in fact accessible.
Yeah, I mean, I was a business owner for a decade, CEO for a long time, and whenever I would hire people smarter than me at something, and it came with that kind of guarantee, it was really good. Like having a PEO say you're not going to have any HR problems or whatever. Yeah, it totally makes sense to me that marketers should be thinking about this because it's super important. And I'm not sure to what extent. Maybe you know more about this than I do. But I come from the SEO and organic content side of things. But I know like site quality is hugely important to Google.
Of course.
If you want to be discovered, I think there's no reason to believe that it's going to get anything but more important as time goes on.
Yeah.
That your website is not just like mobile friendly, but accessible to anybody on any device. Google's running out of ways to tell who's the best. Is the point I'm trying to make. Like who deserves the top spot.
Yeah.
And I think marketers really need to be thinking about every single thing that they can do to get that advantage. So how can people find more about Accessibility online?
So you could go to accessibility.com. It's spelled just like the word accessible, but without the L. If you are an agency or a SaaS platform out there that's interested in partnering with us, we do have partner programs available. If you own a website and are just worried about becoming accessible, you can request a demo straight from our website. We have people who are very knowledgeable on the topic, can provide you with answers, show you the solution, and hopefully make sure that your site is doing the right thing by making the internet a bit more accessible.
Do it. All right. We'll be back, I think, in a little bit here. DigiMarCon East. Stay tuned. Landon, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
This is something that I think doesn't get talked about enough, so this is really cool. I'm glad we can talk about this here. Stay tuned.